And we're back for the third round of Oneshot Roulette. If you're not familiar with the concept in these videos, we use the website spin.moe to randomly select 3 manga one-shots, which I then go on to read and briefly review, giving you some basic details and telling you if they're a must-read or belong in a trash fire. No one-shot is off the table unless I've already covered it in a previous video or if it's untranslated. So to keep things speedy, let's get spinning. The first one-shot the roulette wheel span on was Hidarite. It was only 16 pages long and was created by Clamp. I think most people watching will know who Clamp are, them being a very famous group of female mangaka who have a huge body of work ranging from Cardcaptor Sakura, Chobits, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, and a lot of design work for other projects including anime like Code Geass. Hidarite is one of their older one-shots and is pretty simple, focusing on this little boy who fears if any of his limbs are outside his futon at night, they'll be cut off. It taps into a very childlike idea that I think is pretty relatable, hiding under the covers because you believe there's some kind of evil or monster there. It also becomes more than that though, as it interweaves some interesting horror or spiritual elements when this little girl in the same hospital as him is introduced. There the boy chooses not to put her hand back under the covers after he finds her sleeping at night, and the next morning it's mysteriously being cut off. The art overall can be quite minimal on some pages, but there's a creepiness to a lot of imagery which I appreciate, which adds to a dreamlike or even nightmarish vibe. I think this one is worth reading through despite its short length. It brought up some interesting emotions in me that led back to my childhood. Our second roulette spin brings us Anata Wo Mamoritakute, or I Want to Protect You, by Masara Minase, a BL artist who doesn't seem to have many prominent works in the West. This was serialized in the yaoi magazine Love Mission in 2005, which they did earlier on in their career. I Want to Protect You is a 26 pages long one-shot and follows a student and teacher who meet again 6 years after breaking up their illicit relationship, with the student now a teacher himself. It mostly consists of them meeting up again, and there's some really awkward, borderline sexual assault scenes that sees their relationship rekindled, and it just makes me feel kinda gross reading it. I get it's a more taboo story full of passion, but I don't really get any of that from it, even though I can feel it trying to go that route. The art is alright and there's some decent expressions, and the page layouts are a lot less cluttered than a lot of other manga I've read for this series so far, but overall I think you can find much better romance or BL out there. It's really hard to rate this one, but I don't think we've hit rock bottom quite yet, so I'm going to just give this one a definite pass. And for our final one-shot of this episode, we have Miss T-Rex Heart by Joji Manabe and Mioneski. This is a whopping 108-page one-shot published in Monthly Dragon Age, which is home to a fair few popular ecchi manga. The artist Mioneski doesn't have many credits, but Joji Manabe is known for their manga Outlanders, as well as a ton of hentai. This work does get a bit explicit, but it isn't full-on porn or anything. What it is full-on though is crazy. It starts with Ralph, a Tyrannosaurus Rex living his best life before an asteroid drops on the Earth, and suddenly he's transported into the body of a Japanese teenage girl. We get some pretty fun hijinks of Ralph getting accustomed to his new body and life. My favorite panel is him rooting through the fridge. It juggles some actually funny ideas with okay ecchi elements. I think Ralph walking around naked because he doesn't know any better is pretty funny, but then we get this fat Yakuza guy who wants to marry him/her, which really doesn't need to be there. It bloats the story and is just kind of weird. It also introduces characters and ideas quite late into the one shot. There's this teacher who's actually the reincarnation of a mouse, and the reincarnation of a Triceratops Ralph once fought appears as well, who is now the daughter of the President of the United States, and she brings American Special Ops and an entire mech to finally kill Ralph at the end of the story, and it's an absolutely wacky time. It also has art that I think is better than most things we've covered in this series so far. It has a fun older feel to it, and all the dinosaurs and set pieces are really well drawn. If you can get past the ecchi elements or are fine with them, I think this one is worth reading just for how odd it is and for having a trans Tyrannosaurus Rex, I guess. And those are today's 3 random one-shots. I would suggest to avoid I Want to Protect You, but both Hidarite and Miss T-Rex Heart are both worth taking a look at if they sound or look interesting to you. I'm still really enjoying making these smaller videos and reading all these random manga, so expect more in the future, and subscribe if you'd like to see them pop up in your subscription feed, as well as other videos on manga. I usually make videos covering Shonen Jump, like in my History of Shonen Jump series, or the X-Files where I look at cancelled Shonen Jump manga. And if you really like what I make, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It helps a ton and you can help influence the direction of the channel a bit. You'll also be thanked at the end of my videos, and at the $3 tier you can get your own little doodle like Kinocha, Cody, Kaizuku Gairu, Sorako Zero, Holly the Apothecary, Mayu, It's Fako, Elias Demansky, and Lay Saget. Thank you all for supporting me and what I make. And as always, thank you so much for watching, remember to be kind and take care.